The rain had started just after Kate's parents left with Oliver, and the heavy drops against the windows made the apartment feel smaller and quieter than usual. Lily curled up on the couch with tea that had gone cold in her hands, watching Kate work at the dining table, papers spread in careful piles around her laptop. She liked seeing Kate like this, especially with glasses that made her look more thoughtful than intimidating, the frames highlighting the curve of her cheekbones in a way that made Lily's chest tighten. She hadn't said anything for the past 10 minutes, but the thought had been circling too long to keep it quiet. He doesn't talk about her much. Kate's pen stopped moving. Elise? Lily nodded. Only when she's just been here. Then it's like she fades out again. I wasn't sure if that was normal. Kate was quiet for a moment, then pushed the paper aside. It's normal for him. Lily hesitated. Does that worry you? Every day. Kate's mouth pulled into something not quite a smile. She settled back in her chair. I want him to have two parents who love him. That's what we promised each other, even after the divorce. And she does love him, when she's here. There was no bitterness in her voice, no trace of the hurt that Lily might have expected. Kate spoke about Elise's absences the way she might discuss flight delays or weather patterns. Inconvenient realities that required adjustment rather than anger. But she travels so much. She calls when she can and sends gifts. Kate paused, watching the rain chase itself across the glass. He sees her as this bright, exciting figure. And maybe that's okay, for now. Maybe that's good. He gets to love her without seeing the cracks. But I keep wondering, what happens when he grows up? When he starts to understand? Lily stayed quiet, sensing that Kate was working through something she rarely allowed herself to voice. There was a careful rhythm to Kate's words, like she was testing each one before letting it out, and Lily didn't want to break whatever fragile trust was building between them. I'm the one who makes him brush his teeth, who tells him he can't have chocolate before bed. I'm the one he yells at when he's mad, and the one he falls asleep on when he's too tired to fight it. Kate's fingers found the edge of the paper, creasing it absently. And she's the one he lights up for, once a month. Because she never has to say no. Her voice didn't shake, but there was something raw underneath the controlled tone, a vulnerability that Kate seemed to be fighting to keep contained. It was the sound of someone who had practiced saying these things to herself in the mirror, but never out loud to another person. I want him to love her. I do, but I also want to be seen. Not just the background, not just the one holding everything together so the picture looks neat. Lily's throat tightened. She stood, crossed to the dining table, and pulled out the chair across from Kate. He does see you, she said quietly. Even when he's being stubborn or loud or covered in yogurt. You're his center of gravity. Kate met her eyes. Something shifted in her expression. She closed the folder in front of her. I was the one who wanted kids, she said, voice softer now. Elise was hesitant. Not against it, just slower, more cautious. I was sure. I thought it would fix things or maybe just give us something to hold on to. Lily held back, recognizing the pause was just Kate gathering her thoughts. Sometimes I wonder if I was too stubborn about it, if I made a promise she wasn't ready to keep. I think she would have been happy with just the two of us, traveling the world together and working remotely from a new country each year. Kate's grip tightened slightly on the folder. She loves him. I know that. But I think she still feels like she's watching someone else's life from outside the glass. She finally looked up at Lily, something softer in her expression. I thought I needed quiet tonight. A small smile tugged at her lips. Turns out your company is way better. Kate lingered a moment, her eyes warmer now. Do you want to critique my movie taste a bit more? And maybe watch another one? The apartment was too quiet. Lily noticed it immediately Monday morning. The stillness, the lack of tiny footsteps or dinosaur commentary echoing down the hall. Oliver had left with Elise the night before, off to spend the week at her place, and the absence of him felt strange. She made herself tea and opened Spotify on her phone, turning the volume up louder than she ever could when Oliver was home. The opening beats of some pop song she'd forgotten she loved filled the apartment, and before she could think too much about it, she was dancing. Hips swaying, arms loose, the kind of unself-conscious movement that only happened when no one was watching. She spun into the kitchen, sang into a wooden spoon, and laughed at herself for being ridiculous. It felt good. Free. Like reclaiming a part of herself she'd tucked away for a while. By the time the third song ended, she was breathless and smiling, the apartment feeling a little less empty. It was just past 11 when her phone buzzed. Kate. Lily stared at the screen for a second, a little surprised. Kate almost never called, just texted short, efficient messages when needed. She answered quickly. Hey. Hi, Kate said, her voice smooth as ever, but a little less formal than usual. Sorry, are you busy? No, just hanging out. Why? There was a brief pause. I left a folder on the dining table. Blue cover. I need to get it to my team before their board meeting. Lily moved toward the table without thinking. Got it. Want me to drop it off? I was going to send a courier, Kate said, but if you're free... Lily smiled before she could stop herself. I was actually thinking about heading into the city anyway. It's no problem. There was a small sound on the other end of the line. Maybe a breath, maybe a smile. Thank you, Kate said, and her voice softened slightly. I'll text you the address. They hung up. 20 minutes later, Lily stepped into a sleek lobby downtown, holding the blue folder like it was more important than it probably was. The building was all glass and steel, the kind of place that made you feel like you should be wearing something more expensive. Kate was already standing near the reception area in a tailored blazer and heels, scrolling through her phone. When she looked up and saw Lily, something subtle shifted in her expression. Surprise, maybe. Or something softer. Thank you, she said, taking the folder but not stepping away. You're a lifesaver. My VP needs this for the governance meeting. All the risk assessments and compliance documentation. She glanced toward the hallway. Let me just run this up to the conference room real quick. She paused, then turned back to Lily. Come up with me, and then... I'm taking you to lunch. It wasn't a question, exactly, but the way she said it, confident, decided, made Lily's stomach flip. Lily looked at her, trying to read something in Kate's expression. Was this just a thank you lunch? A professional courtesy because Lily had done her a favor? Or was there something else behind the invitation? Something that lived in the same space as the teasing comments and lingering looks that Lily had been trying not to overthink for weeks now? She knew she was probably hoping for more than was there. Reading into things the way people do when they have a crush, they know is pointless. But still, the hope sat there in her chest, stubborn and warm. Kate's certainty faltered just slightly. I mean, if you don't have anything planned. You don't have to, obviously. I just thought... I'd like that, Lily said, cutting off her rambling with a small smile. Kate exhaled, almost imperceptibly. Okay, good. She turned toward the elevator, and Lily followed, trying very hard not to think about the fact that she might have just caught Kate West getting flustered. The space stretched out in front of them, a modern tech workspace with long tables, developers hunched over monitors, a few people gathered around whiteboards covered in diagrams. Clean lines, neutral tones, minimalist furniture. The kind of office that looked like every other startup in the city. Kate stepped out, and Lilly followed. Almost immediately, she felt eyes lift from screens. A woman near the coffee station paused mid-pour. Two guys at a workstation glanced up, then quickly backed down, but not before exchanging a look. Kate didn't seem to notice or care. She kept walking. Halfway down the hall, Lilly spotted a nameplate on one of the glass-walled offices, Kate West, CEO. She couldn't help but glance inside as they passed. It wasn't what she'd expected. Large potted plants sat in the corners. A fiddle-leaf fig, something with broad green leaves she didn't recognize. A small framed drawing hung on the wall, crayon dinosaur in greens and blues. The bookshelf was packed with book spines in no particular order. Bright colors mixed with black and white technical manuals. Yellow Post-it notes covered the desk and clung to the edges of the monitors. It looked lived in, personal, like Kate actually spent time here, not just showed up for meetings and left. They walked past a few closed focus rooms and smaller meeting spaces until Kate stopped at a conference room near the end of the hall. Through the glass, Lilly could see several people already seated around the table, laptops open. Kate knocked once and stepped inside. Lilly stayed in the hallway, close enough to see through the glass, but far enough not to intrude. She watched as Kate handed the folder to a woman with silver hair at the head of the table. The woman said something, and Kate replied with a small smile. The others in the room looked up. One guy grinned, another nodded respectfully. There was an ease to it, the way people leaned in slightly when Kate spoke. Not fear or formality. Something closer to admiration. Respect. Lilly found herself noticing the small things. The way Kate's posture relaxed just slightly when someone laughed at something she said. The brief touch to the woman's shoulder before she turned to leave. Finding the little details in other people, Kate had said that night. Noticing things they do when they think no one is watching. Lilly hadn't realized she'd started doing it too. Watching Kate, the way Kate watched everyone else. Kate stepped back into the hallway, and they started walking toward the elevator. That's when Lilly felt it again. Eyes following them. A guy at a standing desk pretended to stretch. Someone near the kitchen whispered something to their coworker. When they reached the elevator, Lilly finally spoke. "Is there something on my face?" Kate pressed the button, amused. "No. Why?" "People keep staring." Lily's hand went to her shirt. "Is something wrong with my clothes?" The elevator opened. They stepped inside. Kate turned to her, that slow smile spreading. "It's not every day I leave the office with a pretty woman at my side." Heat crept up Lily's neck. The lunch had seemed like a simple thank you. But after what Kate just said, now it felt different. Like maybe it was something more. Not a date. Lilly wasn't delusional enough to think that. But something. Kate was watching her, that faint smirk still in place. "You're blushing again." "I am not," Lilly tried to protest. "But you are." Lilly turned toward the doors, biting back a smile. If the ride-up had made her think she'd caught Kate flustered, Lilly was certain now that Kate had just watched her completely unravel on the way down.